So here we are in Clammerkin Lake. That's looking north towards the mainland there. We've got a few other people at the buoys. This is just lovely. This is the place, it's this sort of place that makes me just always find an anchorage if I can, rather than going into a marina. I mean, really, isn't that just stunning? So this is Great Atlantic Bay. That's looking west. Round to the north. And ending up looking east there. Good morning! Nice again. Isn't it? If that northerly holds, that'll be lovely. So here I am looking due west in Tolcon Creek, which is just as the Fal narrows down to oak-lined riverbanks. There we go, that's up to presumably Truro up there. And here I am, this is the creek that I've nosed into. Isn't that magnificent? It's just oak lined. That's just gorgeous. Lisky Bay, that's looking due south there, my entrance from that dreadful 4-7 that I put up with for a few hours, and looking round to the east. That's the northern beach there, protecting me from this north wind. And then round to the west before returning to that south approach. And heading east-southeast to get out of Carlingford Loch. Quite pretty, there's a bit of sunshine there, but there's some ominous clouds about. 4-6 expected around 3 o'clock this afternoon, by which time, all being well, that's the marina there, and there's the docks, and back to east-southeast. All being well, I'll be in my anchorage at Coney Island by then. Okay, looking northeast there in my anchorage. It's been a brisk old sail today, 3 reefs in. Called Coney Island. Well, I'm not sure the village is called Coney Island, but the anchorage is called Coney Island. That's looking into the wind, which is northwest, and then that's back the way we've come down towards. Okay, that's looking west to the entrance there of Campbelltown. That, I think, there seems to be a lot to do with NATO here, and I think that's a NATO fueling pier, probably Cold War and nothing active anymore. Here I am at anchor, close by this street of cottages. And then that's looking towards Campbelltown itself over there, which I'll probably go to tomorrow because it's expecting force 8 late morning. So I might actually go alongside there. And that's Arran, of course, out beyond the entrance, looking back west again. Okay, to the that's Butte right ahead of me, and I came up the Western Channel, which is on the right there, and I'm now in Caelid Harbour. So this is just unbelievably wonderful. That slip there, I'm wondering, may allow me to dry out. I don't know, I'll look at that at 8 o'clock tonight at low water. So there's the mainland. One cottage for company. I'm in 5 meters at the moment and it's a 2 meter tide. That's kind of, those rocks kind of remind you of Scandinavian mooring, that perhaps I should be nosing my bows into there and tying up on a rock with a kedge anchor behind me. Out there behind me, that's more mainland, I think. Yes, and there's the narrow North Channel out of Caelid Harbour. And that's the island of Eileen Dub, is it? Something like that. I'll check that in a minute. There we go. Isn't that gorgeous? I need to just check if we have a right of access. I don't quite understand this right of access in Scotland, but can I land here and walk the dogs? I suspect the answer is yes. Okay, that's out to the west there is Caelid Harbour, where I anchored last night, and behind it to the left is the mainland, and this is the other side of the mainland here, where I'm anchored in Fernoch Bay. Hard up against the rocks there. Then we've got a nice shoaling beach around there, protecting me in theory from the northwest all the way clockwise. Got some company here that have just arrived. Round, that's the southwest there, and that's the island of Butte, isn't it? That's Butte there. And there we go, back to that pale bit in the background, which is the mainland again, and Caelid Harbour.
Here she comes, look, through the lock gates. There's us in the distance over there, through the smoke. The last of the steamer boats, apparently. The puffer steamers, I think they're called, if you look her up online. Should we give them a wave, see if they wave back to us? Isn't she lovely? You can book your berth. Just under £2,000 for a 5-night trip, apparently. I've just looked it up. Oh, she smells so good. I've been covered in steam. Wow. What a treasure. Off she goes. She's headed down to Port Talbot and Loranza for their 5 days.
Canberra, of the loch. That there, between that bit of mud on the left and the bank on the right, is the narrow entrance into this very shallow loch. Just down there in the near bit of water. Okay, it's looking pretty much southwest to the entrance of Loch Centaur. Oddly enough, right at the very bottom of the water there is Ragtrade, if you can zoom in enough. Going round, somewhere beyond that mound there must be Ben Nevis, Emma tells me, 20 miles away. And we've managed to sneak out with no rain, which was quite a lot of it this morning, as we head off to lunch at the Kilcam Brasserie. There we go. So there's 5 of us yachts anchored here in Muck. This is Port Moore. That's looking back towards Ardnamurch Point on the mainland over there. We swing around Muck, which is Port Moore here. That behind is Room, is it? And over there behind us must be Egg. And up out there somewhere should be Mallaig, I guess. Okay, I've got a short stop in Sandaig Bay, just opposite Mallaig, really, whilst I wait for the tide, and then I'll go up to Sandaig Islands a bit further north this afternoon. So what have we got here? That little island in front of me is just full of seals basking in the sun. We had a grockle boat through here earlier to come and admire them. And then over there, that's Rum, I think. Yes, that's Rum in the centre. Going to the Isle of Skye beyond the little islands. And this is the bay, which is rather lovely, actually, I have to say. It's a shame I'm not going to spend some more hours, but I feel I need to push further north. So this is my little bay. There. Rather a nice drying out area up there if I had a mind to. Gosh, now I've got to think about that. Maybe I should dry out the boat and have a look, inspect the hull. And over there, and somewhere just around the corner beyond the island is Mallaig. And I was taking the opportunity to try and dry some of the matting out from its last 3 weeks of rain. That's it, really. Well, I figured you ought to see Arcasid Moor on the island of I can't remember where I am. Rona. There I am, anchored about, I guess that must be 30 metres off the shore. This is estate owned, so there's a lot of moorings here. So I'm kind of lucky that because it's such a rotten summer, nobody's here. And even if they were, because I'm a shoal draft, I could have snuck inside of the visitors' mooring buoys, which I'd happily have paid for their mooring buoy if I could get ashore. But since I can't get ashore, Doesn't seem much point in paying out money. And just sort of to the west of me is this little drying area here. There we go, back to the north, and there's north again. Approaching Lochs, that's looking north, and we're actually sailing again at last, which is a blessed relief. Just to the right there, Lochs. Yeah, just by that white shroud. Okay, I find myself on the north coast of Scotland, having rounded Cape Ross earlier today, and I'm in Respond Bay, and this is just delightful. So that's the north. There is the entrance, and looking towards the east, and probably Orkney over there. That's looking deeper into Loch Erebol, which is a common stopover for everybody going towards to or from the two capes. South I have company, the Excelsior here. Little beach. And then northwest, look at this. This is a drying harbour, and if I had time, I would go in and dry out and check out my hull. But really the conditions are too good and I need to press on. But isn't that just beautiful? Respond Bay, Respond Bay. Okay, it appears it's a bit of cross training today. There's presumably the River Helm, I guess, since I'm in Helmsdale. And around to the south and the southeast, and over there should be my destination tomorrow in the Merc on the south side of the Moray Firth, and moving round to the east more of the Moray Firth until the headland, and going back a bit, there's the yacht down there. Let's see, you won't be able to pick her up, she's the smartest thing there, down there. And over there is, I can't remember which array it is, but anyway, wind farm. Well, that's Ragtrade head ahead in the hazy sunshine. Could stay dry today. So looking south of the Moray Firth. Behind me over there, White Hills. Oh, this is a bit, so that thing just to the left of the block looked very white yesterday, but doesn't look so obviously white today. And that way is Inverness and the Caledonian Canal. And of course that great expanse over there is the rest of the Moray Firth. Here we are in Peterhead Harbour, beached up outside the dinghy club. And the hull actually looks remarkably good. It's amazing. Down in Ipswich, I'd have had growth every 4 weeks. Okay, so we've got a little bit of scum around the below the waterline. There's a bit of algae on the bilge keels, I reckon. Bit of kelp around the rudder and some fur. Yeah, there's definitely some fur down there. I'll can I get in? Yeah. The propeller looks excellent. There's a few oh dear, what are those little tiny little shells that look like miniature volcanoes? There's a few of those on the shaft, but otherwise the prop's looking clean. I don't imagine the port side. Okay, so we've got some missing antifowl. Yeah, some patches of missing antifowl, but even where the antifowl's missing entirely, there's not much growth. So I'm going to have to go and find a paintbrush from somewhere. Right, well, that anode's looking good. I would say, yeah, the propeller anode's gone entirely. So, some work to do, but not much actually. Scrubbing's not going to take any time at all. And I'm not even complaining about wading in the water. I think it's possibly 14 degrees here, so it's not particularly cold. Okay, so about a quarter of the way through scrubbing the hull. The observation is that the antifoul is so lightly covered to hardly be worth mentioning. There's just really the scum line, and everything else comes off easily with the sponge just to polish it up. The copper coat has got, as you can see where I've scrubbed, this thin skin of algae, which requires a bit of a scrubber, but again very small amount. Yeah, that's the state after, well, I must have put her in the water in late April and set off on the 10th of May. Down in Ipswich, I would have had to have done this job about every month, and it would have been a much heavier growth than we see here right now. Of course, in the middle of that, we went up the Crinan Canal, so fresh water, which will have done it no harm at all. Okay, so very pleased with the hull really, the antifoul particularly, and the copper coat's done well enough, and the advantages of copper coat over antifoul and not having to replace it every year are just too good to stick with antifoul. But let's have a look at the anodes. So the hull anode is actually in good shape. There's plenty of meat left on there, and the propeller anode doesn't exist at all. It's gone. That's the Allen key that holds it on. It should be a cone from there to there. So kind of slightly as expected. The propeller anode has gone. Okay, a quick tour of Arbroath Harbour. That is the gated entry, so not a lock, it's just a gate, so it shuts 3 hours either. It's open from high water -3 to high water +3, and then it's shut. And some working boats in here. Okay, a load of yachts. There's a town and 3 chippies within cat swinging distance of each other. Out to the west there, this interesting new building behind us. There's more investment there. Some more working boats. And I'll be heading out that way to the south side of the Firth of Forth tomorrow. And there we go, back to the gate. Okay, possibly the strangest anchorage I've ever been in here. Let me take you round. So that's looking back north towards where I was this morning, which was Arbroath. And this anchorage is sort of guarded by vicious looking rocks. There's 2 there. Oh, and I passed a lovely grey seal as I came in, who was very inquisitive. Yeah, these slightly frightening rocks you have to thread your way through as you approach. Then looking down the Firth of Forth, ultimately towards Edinburgh, I suppose, out there in the west. Then round the headland there. That looks like a hotel up the top there. And the old ruined castle, and there is the entrance to the harbour there that I am anchored sort of meters off the channel into the harbour. And there we go, yep, back to the north again from where I came. Okay, those there are the leading marks into the anchorage. at Lindisfarne, and then looking left, there we are, the island. I've got one other yacht for company here. There's a lot of grockles on the island. Presumably they disappear at high water, before high water. And then, although they're not there now, when I got here, there were just thousands of seals lining that mainland shore, making the noise of very angry jet skis.